Welcome to Football Scene and Football Pass, where on Friday night, one of England's greatest players of all time, Wayne Rooney, hung up his football boots after 19 years. And joining me today is one of his oldest and dearest friends, Alan Stubbs. Alan, should I call you the Jedi Master as Wayne does?
I think when he was first coming onto the scene, I was probably a little bit like that for him. But maybe not so now.
Let us go back to the early 2000s where you first met and where it all began at Everton. How did your
Yeah.
friendship come about?
Basically, how it come about, Ali, was that there was a lot of people talking about Wayne in the academy and in the under 16s and in the under 18s, and he was a 14-year-old boy playing for the 18s, and there was a lot of talk about him and a lot of hype. And as first team players, we are not really the ones who see too much of that because we don't get to see, the games that they're playing, and unless they sometimes play in competitions like the FA Youth Cup in England, where if it's a big game, you find that some first team players will go and watch. But so we'd heard all about him, but we'd not actually physically seen him. And then Walter Smith was the manager at the time, and I think Walter was reluctant to bring Wayne up because the team that weren't necessarily doing great at the time. Excuse me, and he didn't want to bring him in when in such difficult circumstances. So one day we turned up for training, and Walter had introduced Wayne and said, "Wayne, listen, this," and he was just a very shy, quiet, young boy. And then we go training, and basically it was a jaw dropping moment where we were all looking around each other thinking, "Wow, who is this? Who is this kid?" And the more and more he trained with us, the more that you knew and you were witnessing something special. He was doing things on the training pitch that you know you don't learn them. The natural, how to use your body, movement, his first touch, his awareness, his brain was something to behold, and we knew we had something special. It was so obvious to see, and he was such a not necessarily a mature boy, but he had a mature body, and his strength for his age was ridiculous. And it was no surprise that he would go on to achieve everything that he's achieved. I think because he was so good and because he'd done it on such a regular occasion, we just took Wayne Rooney for granted. And I think in a way that's a good thing, but in a way it's a bad thing and all, because I still don't think personally, not just as a friend, but as a professional sportsman who witnessed them, we don't necessarily, I don't think, appreciate how good he was.
And you've touched on it there, Man United and England's top goal scorer, hoovered up all the awards. But
Yeah.
in your eyes, how good a player was Wayne Rooney?
Well, I think, Ali, I probably I was probably very protective of him because of the way I was with him in terms of trying to look after him when I was at Everton and taking him home after training and dropping him off and picking him up and trying to guide him, because the lights of the nation were on him, and he's had to deal with all this pressure. And some people will totally dismiss that as if, oh well, he's a professional footballer, but he's had it since he was 16 years old, and he's been playing at such an incredible level from 16, up until not necessarily the last couple of years, but until he was 33. It's the best part of 17 years to be playing at the very top of your profession is incredible. And if I could just give you an idea of the names that Wayne has as not necessarily as in rub shoulders with, but is in the company of when you talk about England's all time appearances. You know, obviously Peter Shilton is at number one, but then you've got Wayne, and then underneath them is just the who's who of professional footballers. You've got David Beckham, you've got Steven Gerrard, you've got Bobby Moore, Ashley Cole, Bobby Charlton, Frank Lampard, Billy Wright. I think when you look at that, I think sometimes you don't have to say anything. That says it all. You know, it's incredible. 569 appearances in his career, 237 goals. You know, for England, 120 caps, 53 goals. It's incredible. It really is incredible. I have to be honest, at times, he's carried both. He carried England. He's carried Man United. You know, Man United, potentially one of the biggest clubs in the world. England, when he was there, they had potentially the golden group of players that didn't necessarily do justice in terms of the ability that they had. You know, the Ashley Coles, Beckhams, Lampard, Scholes, Ferdinand, John Terry, Wayne Rooney. You know, you look at all these players, David Beckham. You know, and how they've not won anything is beggars belief. But you know, he was such an incredible player. You know, well, first and foremost, for me he was a great lad. But to call him a friend, you know, I feel privileged. But to actually see him on a football pitch and to have played against him and to played with him, you know, I count myself lucky because I can look back and say, you know, yes, I was on the same pitch as Wayne Rooney. Yes, he was a teammate. You know, luckily enough for me, because he was such a good friend, he used to always drift away from me and not play up against me when he was playing for Man United. I think he'd done that out of sympathy more than anything. But no, he was such a special player.
And as you touched on, you've been friends for nearly 20 years. There must be some great stories from those years together.
Yeah, there is. There's lots, and there's lots of personal ones which will obviously stay personal. There's lots of other ones which, you know, I remember one, David Moyes. We just gone out. It's a bit topical, and you think about Celtic in Dubai, but I know the circumstances were totally different around this trip. And David Moyes had took us to Marbella for a mid-season break, and we've gone over there, and obviously Wayne's, you know, he's a 17-year-old at the time, and I was the captain, and David's gone to me, listen, Stubbs, he says, make sure you look after him. I don't want him drinking whatsoever. You know, obviously there could be press about, you need to really take care of him. I was going, yeah, Gaffer, no problem. I promise you, it'll be fine. So anyway, we've finished training and we've gone for a game of golf, and we played golf, and then we'd gone straight out for a meal as a team, and a couple of drinks after that. And Wayne's in the bar, and next minute I see him at the bar, and I've gone across and I've gone, what are you doing? He said, oh, I'm just having I said, no, listen, Wayne, you've got to behave yourself. I said, the Gaffer's told me that I've got to make sure that you get back and you're not drinking. You know, just let me have one. So if I would have said no, I know for a fact he would have sneaked off somewhere and he would have got one. So I said, okay, you can have one. All right, and that's it. So anyway, he's gone, okay, I will. So he's had one. Anyway, a couple of hours into the night, and you know, I'm having a few drinks now, and every now and then I keep looking over and seeing if he's okay, and he seems to be fine, no problem at all. And then a couple of hours more, and I'm starting to, you know, I'm a bit worse away now, and I've gone over to Wayne. I've gone to Wayne. Are you okay? And he's gone, yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. And I've gone, okay, that's fine. I said, no, there's no more drinks now. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water. He's gone, yeah, okay. And I'm drunk now. So I've gone back to my seat, and literally 20 minutes later, Wayne's putting me in a taxi to take me back to the hotel. and I've gone, no, I can't go back. I've got to stay with you. He's gone, no, I'll take you back. So next minute, Wayne's tucking me in bed, and he's gone back out to meet the lads. And then the gaffer the next day has gone to me, Stubbs, yeah, everything go okay? I said, yeah, everything's good. Gaffer said, Wayne okay? I said, yeah. I said, we'll just let him have one drink and then he didn't have any more. I said, but everything was fine. He's gone, oh, okay, great, no problem, that's good. He said, thanks very much for that. And it was like, oh, if only he knew exactly what had happened, that was one. That was one story. There was a few more, but that was one that I think I can put on the airwaves. That's okay.
So following that, I guess there wasn't any repercussions of him actually going out and having a few drinks after that. He obviously was a good boy. Listen to you.
Well, I think that was our one and only night out. So the pressure was off me then for the rest of the trip because we didn't have any more nights out, thankfully, and it meant that I didn't have the onus of looking after Wayne. So, but that was just one. But he was in terms of a trainer and everything like that, he was always the first on the training pitch. He'd always have a bag of balls over his shoulder, and he'd be there on the pitch before training, clipping balls from the halfway line onto the crossbar, then from the 18-yard box. And then, if you're not Wayne, he loved going in goal. He fancied himself as a bit of a keeper. And before training, we'd always put a group of players. We'd have 5 or 6 of us, and we'd have all balls situated around the 18-yard box, around the D and different areas, and we'd be looking to, try and put them into the top corner and stuff like that. And Wayne's jumping into the top corner and plucking them out of the corners. And the gaffers come running on one day, going, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I'm just doing a little bit of practice with Wayne. He went, we can't. What happens if he gets injured? He can't. Get him out. Get them gloves off. Get out. And he was like so protective of him. David Moyes, rightly so. But Wayne was the kid from the street that took it onto the grass. And that's the way he played his football. I think there's one goal that always, for me, epitomised Wayne, and it was the one for Man United where he'd just been fouled and the referee never given me, and he's got up and the ball next minute was in the air as he's got up, and he's volleyed it into the top corner out of frustration, and that for me, summed Wayne up for everything in terms of he gets knocked down, but he got back up, and his ability to be able to strike the ball like that from coming out of the sky from 40 yards in the air and put it into the top corner, wouldn't say it was just out of this world. I would just say was Wayne.
And an absolute treat to watch. Now he's following the footsteps of Frank Lampard at Derby County at the moment. How do you think his managerial career is going to go?
I don't know. I think obviously he's straight away he gets the respect of the players because of who he was. But the thing that Wayne will have to deal with now is that once that honeymoon period is over, it's not what he was as a player, it's what he's going to be as a manager, what will get him through. Himself as a player will give him the respect walking into a room of the players, and a lot of them will be in awe of him. There's no doubt about that. But that will only get you so far, and it's going to be so important to him, the people he has around him, his staff, because it's not going to be a straight line in terms of success and in an upward spiral. There's going to be lots of ups and downs. See, for Wayne, he's enjoyed a lot of ups in his career because he's been so good, and he's been so successful. I'd love him to be the same in management, but history tells you it's not going to be like that. Especially nowadays, with the way management is, it's so difficult because I personally feel is that you don't necessarily have football people involved in football clubs now. It's a lot of business people who make make business decisions rather than necessarily football decisions at times. But I'm sure, he'll be good with the players because he's been one himself. He'll know how to talk to people and to treat players. He'll knowing Wayne as I do, he won't hold back at times. I don't think he'll say what's on his chest. He'll tell people home truths, but it'll be about the timing of it. For me, I think in management, it's all about how you portray something across the players, and it's all about a time and a place. I really hope he does well, because I think from what Wayne's achieved and everything, he's not going into it for financial reasons. He's going into it for professional reasons, which will really help him. I hope, and I hope he enjoys it, because it will be stressful, and he'll put huge demands on himself and the players. And if we're talking about Wayne in a few years' time, in the same breath as what we were as a player, then we know he's going to turn out to be an incredible manager. But I think he's set the bar a little bit too high in terms of matching what he's done as a player. So, see.
And unfortunately, yesterday, a defeat for his first day in charge, with the relegation battle at the moment as well. How do you think he'd take that? Have you had a conversation with him after the game, or what do
I
you think
haven't. No,
he'll
I
do
haven't.
after that?
He'll be disappointed. He's the one thing about Wayne. And I think we've seen. I think everybody's seen this, is that he's a winner. He hates losing. He doesn't hide it either, which is the one thing he's going to have to do as a manager. He's going to have to get over his disappointment very quickly, because you'll have the best part of 25 players looking at you and looking for you to lead them and to inspire them and to pick them up. And he's had the bounce effect in terms of when he was the interim manager, at Derby, and he's had a positive effect. Now, that he's got the job full time, he'll look to start now implementing things now, because at least he knows that he's got the job, rather than he's on show to the people above. So now, I think this season is all about stability. Obviously, Derby's not in a great position right now in terms of off the pitch. There's a lot of uncertainty around them. But I think his main focus right now will be stability. Try and get the club, going up the table, get them safe, and then start to build then, once the summer comes.
So obviously there's a lot of restrictions at the moment, and there's a global pandemic happening, but once that starts to sort of ease, do you think you'll be finding yourself down at Pride Park, and how quickly will you be there?
Well, I might go and see him for a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. I don't envisage anything else. I'm happy right now. But listen, I'll always be there for him. On the end of a call. Unfortunately, he's got some more high profile people that he could ring. The likes of Sir Alex Ferguson, before he can ring me for advice. I'm sure he'll speak with Sir Alex before. Well, I'd like to think he would, as long as I hope they're still talking. And you look at the managers that he's had with England and all, I'm sure they'd be, the first in the queue to give Wayne advice if he needs it. But he's a very strong-willed individual, and I'm sure he will ask questions and take advice. But he's a very focused individual that knows what he wants and will do whatever it takes to get there. He was like that as a young player. So I'm sure, that will stand him in good stead for his managerial career. I wish him all the best. I really do. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a lot more difficult than what it was for him as a player. But I think it's one of them. Watch this space and let's see how he does.
Well, as much as you don't think it, he did say he looked up to you and he still does as his Jedi Master. So today, Alan Stubbs, thank
Yeah.
you so much for taking the time to share your stories. And it's been lovely to hear those insights into Wayne and his career.
No, pleasure, Ali. Thank you very much.